Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Market Down Podcast. My name is Nick Cummings, joined this week by Danny Hernandez and James Asante. Once again, back to review the latest episode of AEW Dynamite, which I think is not going to go as well as last week did. But let us start at the top of the card where we had Orange Cassidy, the Acclaimed, and Daddy Ass Billy Gunn against Jeff Jarrett and the Slapnuts, obviously them being Jay Lethal, Sanjay Dutt, and Satnam Singh.
Obviously.
The latter two, who I've never seen step in a ring until tonight. Anyway, before this match got started, obviously AEW did some things concerning the passing of Jeff Jarrett's father, Jerry Jarrett. Obviously, he's a very important historical figure in the history of wrestling, and we want to send our condolences to Jeff and his family. But Tony Khan, he did an interview earlier today, and he was like, Jeff wanted to go on. He wanted the show to go on. So I applaud him for that. But let's get into the match, which honestly was kind of slow. It was a little funny at parts. The S Boys
came out slow. That's the word. Slow.
What was
slow?
I think the nicest word I can probably give to it is slow, if not a grinding halt of a match. But basically, they just isolated Billy Gunn for most of it, and he took a lot of the damage for a while. And then eventually Satnam Singh tagged in, and he just took everybody out. So then he tags in Sanjay Dutt to have a little bit of fun. But out of nowhere, Billy comes in and hits a famouser on Singh and to take him down. So now Sanjay is out on a fucking island. He goes into the corner, and he pulls out his pencil, which causes Aubrey to get distracted. So she's yelling at him. And then Jeff Jarrett runs into the ring with the Golden Globe that he stole and apparently still has, because somehow that Academy never sent the police to take it back from him. And he hits Billy in the upside of the head with it. So Caster gets tagged in, and Dutt goes after him with the pencil, but Caster is able to duck it. And Bowens tags and sets up for the Scissor Me Timbers. But he gets knocked off the ropes. So then Billy Gunn comes over, and he sets up for the Scissor Me Timbers. And then he gets knocked off the ropes by Jarrett. And then Jarrett takes an orange punch to the face. And then Orange lays in some vicious leg kicks to Dutt, who this entire time is still being held there by Caster. Spread eagle, as I believe Taz put it. So after those vicious leg kicks, he goes up to the top. And he's stopped from performing the Scissor Me Timbers by Jay Lethal. They both go tumbling to the outside. And finally, Bowens comes over, being the last man standing. He hits the Scissor Me Timbers, and they pick up the win with that. And then afterward, the Acclaimed and the Ass Boys, who had been up on the ramp the entire time, are just jaw-jacking each other as we head into the next segment. But like I said, James, this was just, I said slow. The ending was kind of funny, but we've seen much better matches out of all of these people.
It's very...
Have we?
Out of the Acclaimed, yeah.
Out of all of these people, though?
Okay, maybe not Singh.
Yes, all right. Except for Satnam Singh, every member in the ring has put on a better match than they did tonight.
Okay.
Every member except for Satnam Singh. Maybe. I don't know. Well, I don't watch Elevation. It's very impressive for a match to stop the entire momentum of a card while also simultaneously being the first match on the card.
Yeah, right?
It's quite impressive. Like, I went into tonight super hyped, super excited, and they really put a big old stop sign to that right at the beginning. I will say, I think this match was a perfect... it was like the perfect litmus test for how the rest of the night would go. It was overall not great, with some fun moments sprinkled in between. I love the ending. I love the stuff like them just desperately trying to hit the Scissor Me Timbers on Sanjay Dutt. I love that bit.
At least that was funny.
Yeah,
right?
It was fun. It was fun. It was lighthearted. You had the right characters involved with Orange Cassidy and Danhausen and Daddy Ass. Like, it worked in that regard. But the rest of it was a little plotting. The Ass Boys came out to literally no reaction.
They came in to stand there and do nothing.
Yeah, they offered nothing to the proceedings. The camera barely panned to them. I did not need that, and even if I did need it, they dropped the ball on how they did it. So, weird way to start. I think Tony and AEW heard us say, wow, that match shouldn't have main evented last week. And they decided to open up this week instead, and it still wasn't right. Like, everything here felt like perfect middle of the card. Hell, perfect Rampage material.
Yeah, honestly, I think that's where this should have been. This feels like Rampage material. It almost felt like a little like house showy too. You know, having Orange Cassidy team up with the Acclaimed and Billy Gunn for, as far as I can tell, no reason. I think maybe something happened on Rampage that I had missed and they didn't really make a point of. So I don't know, Danny. Yeah, I think James has a point here. The momentum of this card stopped before it even started.
Oh boy, did it? And this pains me to say, okay, because this is the team I've always wanted. I've never thought about it or said it out loud or put the two together, but I've always wanted, from the bottom of my heart, to see Orange Cassidy team with the Acclaimed and Daddy Ass. I've wanted it since I was a little kid, since I was probably 8 years old. Watching wrestling, that's something I wanted to see deep down, and to get it like this, it just wasn't right. It wasn't tight, and it wasn't right. Unfortunately, the rap was great. Fun rap, nice use of TNA Lockdown by Caster, very funny. Very great of Jarrett to be a good sport in these times and still be dissed. Because that whole rap was about him and not really anyone else, and with the obligatory jab at the ass boys. But, oh man, like, there was just, like, don't get me wrong, everything Orange Cassidy did in this match was fantastic. Billy Gunn, I'm just always happy to see Billy Gunn wrestle. He's no Sting, but, like, you know, I'm always still happy to see him for some reason. He has this novelty factor that the rest of DX just doesn't have anymore, I should say.
He's probably because he's the only one that can still actually go. The rest of them
are you telling me Shawn Michaels couldn't go anymore? Are you telling me?
After what I saw in Saudi Arabia,
he was the only one who could go.
Wow, busted. Oh, busted both you guys. You guys watched that show? Oof.
I read the reviews.
Then how do you know he's the only one that can go? You can't say that so matter-of-factly when...
Because the thing is, I actually didn't watch the show. That's the crazy part. I'm trying to come up with an argument to prove something that is actually true.
I'm trying to remember if I did actually watch that one. I might have just saw the clips on Facebook, but it was bad on Facebook, on Reddit. I mean, but yeah, it was ugly. And like, yeah, Shawn ended up carrying the match because Triple H got hurt, but that's not saying much. It's really not.
This is a Dynamite review. What are you guys talking about Shawn Michaels wrestling for? Sheesh, get it together. But anyway, this whatever. It was very it was a house show match. I don't understand why it opened the show. It didn't set a good tone, and I just don't like the fact that the Acclaimed main event of last week and are opening the show this week in a house show match that means nothing. And this is how bad the Ass Boys are. I liked what we got from the Acclaimed versus Jared and the Slapnuts. Like, that was a fun 3-week feud. And the match was fun. Like, that was actually good. The Ass Boys being involved, even in this, even in the Jeff Jarrett Vortex, which is a lower mid-card Vortex, the Ass Boys being in it drags it down. So where I'm like, I can't even take these guys I'm not even meant to take seriously, even remotely seriously, because now the Ass Boys are involved. And I guess we're going to talk about the match later that's going to happen, but like, the titles have just plummeted. It's been 1 week, and I take them so much less seriously already. Orange Cassidy needs to save those titles too, I guess, now? I don't understand.
Well, if you want, we could talk about that segment now. This was
no, wait, that's how we actually. I just said it. We're gonna get Orange Cassidy and Danhausen beating the Ass Boys for the tag titles. That's what's gonna happen.
That would be pretty funny. But yes, we went backstage to Renee, and she announced that the Guns' first title defense would be on Revolution, and it would be a triple threat match between them and the winners of a traditional tag team battle royal, and then a casino battle royal. And at that point, it was then when Daddy Ass and the Acclaimed interrupted, and the Acclaimed announced that they would be invoking their rematch clause, because apparently those are a thing now. And that match will be a fatal four-way. So we don't know the other two teams in the match at Revolution, but we all kind of predicted that the Acclaimed would be facing off against the Ass Boys at the pay-per-view. So, but you're right, it doesn't feel right. It feels weird in general. No, Danny? I thought it felt weird.
Nope. I think. Sorry, I got a message from John Blattner. Yeah, it's a preemptive here, but he'll get here. But it's whack because even if we get, I'm gonna hate the other two teams in that match because they're not the Acclaimed, and if one of them wins, I'm gonna be pissed that we had to take the titles off the Acclaimed to put them on the Ass Boys and then put them on one of these two teams, including FTR. I love you guys, FTR, but if you come in and win, I hate you. So there's not really much of a silver lining here. There's just like they threw mud on us, and maybe they'll give us a towel.
Well, what's the best case scenario here for you?
The Acclaim win it back, and everyone agrees to never talk about this again.
All right.
A solid scenario.
What is an acceptable case scenario for you?
The Acclaimed win it back, and we all agree to never talk about this again.
You set yourself up for that one.
I did. I was
Any other questions?
I think realistically, what's going to end up happening here is more assuming they keep the titles on the Ass Boys. It'll probably be one of these two other teams ended up getting pinned by Colton or Austin, and then it keeps the Acclaimed from losing clean. But
then we have the titles on the Ass Boys.
I know, I agree. I think that's a terrible scenario, but I just don't see them doing another title change so quickly. And because if they do it, what was the point of this? You know what I mean? Like, what's the point of ping-ponging the tag team titles around?
I think you could say
diminishing them.
Are you asking what the point was if another team wins it at the pay-per-view?
No, I'm asking what the point is if the Acclaim just win it back.
Oh, probably just to say that the story had like a natural progression. Like
the point is to say sorry to all of us. But you could say what's the point of anything on this show, because that's the kind of episode it was. It was a very what's the point kind of episode,
Yeah. There was like one or two cool things, but yeah, for the most part, I unfortunately have to agree with you. This was not a great episode.
It feels like sabotage from AEW. Like they knew we were messing with StreamYards and we were trying to go live on YouTube and Facebook and Twitter, which I don't think is a real place, but whatever. At the same time, and he's like, let me give him a bad show so no one wants to watch. So thanks, Tony.
Yeah, it's weird too. You think with the lead into then there's John Plattner. You think with the lead into the NBA All-Star game that TBS and TNT would probably want something a little bit better, but I guess not. I don't know. It was not great. So, and on that note, I guess let's move on to the next match, which, in my opinion, probably should have led off the show, which was Jon Moxley and Claudio Castagnoli against Rush and Preston Vance in a Texas tornado match, which, as I always say, I love these types of matches. They're phenomenal. They're the best. Anyway, this match actually came about because Brian actually does exist in the BCC.
No.
That's what they said on commentary.
I don't care what the fuck they said. No, I don't care. No. Yuta ran out faster tonight than I've ever seen him run in his entire life, and it was to protect. It was to take out Jose, the fucking assistant. All right, no, where has he been for the last 3 weeks? No, down with the BCC. It's in the thing. Down with the BCC.
Whoa. Oh, that is not what I thought you meant by down with the BCC. I thought you meant you were down with the BCC.
I was once upon a time, but I am recovering now.
He was down with the BCC, but now he wants down with the BBC. The
You've
BCC.
always got me, and I appreciate that, Danny.
You can see the confusion. Anyway, LFI jumped Moxley and Claudio during their entrance into the crowd, and before the match even started. So they brawled around the crowd during the entire picture-in-picture, and the match eventually started as we got out of that, and there you go. So it's a back and forth until the next break, and as we head into the next break, because this was a two commercial match, Claudio's shoulder gets taken out by a double chair shot from Roosh and Preston Vance, and then he's sent over the announce table and pretty much just gets buried under it. We come back from this commercial break to Moxley bloodied because death taxes and Moxley getting bloodied, and he's in a 2-on-1 situation. He starts to make a comeback until Vance nails him in the head with a chain-wrapped punch, and Mox is able to kick out. Vance then uses the chain, just beating the shit out of Moxley with it. And so Claudio finally comes out from underneath the table out of nowhere and attacks Vance. He actually grabs the chain himself and busts Vance open as well. And then he puts him in the swing and starts swinging around until Roosh comes back in and goes after Claudio. As that happens, Mox is able to recover, and we have an actual 2-on-2 there for a while with some even odds. And then until Vance and Mox take each other out, and it's Roosh and Claudio squaring off, which is probably going to lead to a Ring of Honor match. Just saying. It seems like that's what they're setting up for. Anyway, Claudio's able to gain the advantage, and he sets up for the neutralizer, but the aforementioned Jose, the assistant, comes into the match and hits Claudio with the chair. We're now getting breaking news, as you can see to the bottom. Mark Briscoe is officially All Elite. James is very happy that he's dancing.
I'm reaching for the sky, boys.
You're dancing like the Numa Numa guy.
I'm reaching for the skies, boys.
This is not reaching for the sky.
First of all, you can't tell me what I'm doing. You don't see my hands. They're open. Jazz hands. I'm reaching for the sky.
Close enough.
It looked more like you were grabbing at the sky for a bit, maybe trying to snatch the sky.
Yo, Mark Briscoe. Good for you, dude. Good for you. Oh, man, this makes me so happy.
I am a little curious how they're going to use him now because obviously they have to do something with the Ring of Honor Tag Team Championships, but I wonder if he's going to stay on AEW or go to Ring of Honor in the next couple weeks. He's probably going to do both. Let's be realistic. The Ring of Honor tapings are only 2 days. So, but that's good. We'll probably see him on TV more, and I'm excited for that. Anyway, back to this tornado tag match. We just had Jose, the assistant. He nailed Claudio in the back with the chair. This prompts Wheeler Yuta to come out, like you said, James, and attack Jose, the assistant, and they battled each other all the way into the back. Meanwhile, in the ring, Vance grabbed the chain again, and he had wrapped it around Mox's neck. And as this is happening, Roosh also knocked Claudio to the outside, and he went for a tope, but Claudio caught him with an anti-air uppercut and just absolutely knocked the shit out of him. So Vance has Mox's neck wrapped up with the chain, but Moxley's able to get out of it. He counters and grabs the chain, and he puts that around Vance's neck, laying in the hammer and anvil elbows until he transitions into an armbar with the chain still around Vance's neck, and Vance is forced to tap out. Meanwhile, backstage, Hangman Adam Page had been watching this entire match on the screen, and as the match ended, they cut to backstage to show that he had been jumped by Kip Sabian, the Butcher, and the Blade. Obviously, he would be facing Kip later in the show. But, Danny, I think this match should have led the show. It was a lot higher energy. Obviously, the blood and the weapons makes it higher energy. And then if you start with that, I think you're a lot better shape. Instead, you start with that other match. Like we said, it was very slow, a little funny, but not, nothing really to kick off Dynamite with. So I think that affected this match as well. The crowd was kind of dead for what I thought was a pretty good match.
Oh man, I didn't give a fuck about this. Like, I zoned out so hard during this match. It was borderline disassociation. Like, I don't know if you guys ever disassociated before, but I dabble, slip in and out from time to time. Is usually when the elite's on, but it happens in real life, more serious situations too. But like, I don't know, like who? Okay, so it was Preston Vance. That's formerly 10, the guy who doesn't know how to beat up bodyguards, correct? Okay, okay. Who is that? Why is he there? Who is that guy? Why is he there? He's like a good-looking guy, but he looks 10 times more generic without his mask on, oddly enough. I just like the spots were cool. The spots were cool. Why did this happen? Like, I know you said it was because of the BCC likes Bryan Danielson, so they were like, supposedly. Oh, yeah, no, that's what. Hey, they like him. Not enough to let him be part of the group, but they like him. So I guess that's why. But
it's like a reverse Dark Order situation. It's like we're friends, but we won't let you in the group, as opposed to Dark Order, where it's like we're friends, but we would love for you to be in the group, but you keep turning us down.
Yeah, I just I didn't care, like, and I feel bad because they fucking bled, or Moxley bled all over the place and shit. But like, it was just nice to see Claudio in the match on Dynamite. It was nice to hear Wild Thing and see the entrance. But there was like, what was the point of this match? After following him, and I agree, it should have gone on first.
Revenge.
Revenge for, I guess Mox wanted revenge for them locking his wife in a locker room for like 4 minutes, I guess. But like, I
didn't even acknowledge it.
If this, like you said, I think if this opened the show, I would have felt differently. But I've already 2 matches in. I was like, what's the point of this show? I don't understand. I literally was like, what? I had nothing to like grasp onto at this point. So I'm not saying this match wasn't good. I'm just saying I wasn't the right audience for this match.
But that's my point. I think because we opened with that Jarrett match, it just took all the air out of the room. And then we have this match, which was, like I said, it was good. It wasn't phenomenal, but I enjoyed it. And I think if you flip them, you're in a much better spot there, James.
I agree with that.
I agree that the show would have benefited from flipping the matches. I 100% agree with that, Nick. But I also agree with Danny. The match didn't do much for me. And I am the audience for it. Like, I love Mox. I love Claudio. I am a fan of... I'm becoming a fan of Roosh, I could say. Like, I'm starting to see his value. And anytime 10 can look like a bitch, it's fantastic. So... I don't know why it didn't really all come together for me. It kind of felt like it felt like a match we've already seen with very little stakes here. And there was a lot of story they could have played off of. Like they sort of delved into it a little bit that, Moxley's wrestled Preston Vance before twice, and both times he's wrestled him, he's beaten the crap out of him. One time he was... he had to get surgery afterwards. I'm avoiding that comment. I'm not even going to read it. I don't know what it says. I'm not going to read it, but I see it and I'm just ignoring it. And but anyway, it is no more words supposed. I mean, Jeff didn't make the song. That's not my problem. I don't care. This is why King Kong would lose to Godzilla. But anyway,
don't get me started on that again.
Wait, wouldn't he though? All right.
No, of course King Kong would lose to Godzilla. Everybody knows that. Everybody.
Except in the 1950s one where King Kong beats
non-canon.
Godzilla.
Non-canon. Even back then it wasn't not canon. But anyway, I don't know. Moxley felt bored in the match. Moxley, like, the second half of the match, he did little to nothing. He came back in for the finish. And don't get me wrong, I'm glad Claudio got to look good. But Mox is just laying there looking like a jabroni. Stop acknowledging his comments, Danny. Stop.
Not me. This is not me.
Anyway.
There's currently a Jeff Hardy argument breaking out in our YouTube chat.
He's not even here. Please.
Hi,
please,
JD.
Please.
And hello, Jinx, as well. Saw you earlier.
I'm so derailed right now. More derailed than the show was on TNT.
You're not wrong.
Or is
Moxley did
yes,
spend
I
a
don't
lot
know.
of time laying down. He did.
Yeah,
And honestly, so did Vance.
Yeah, but I think Vance might have cut a little deep when he bladed.
Yeah. He probably because he hasn't done it in a while.
But you know, I there was so much that they could have really done with this match. They could have played up Roosh wanting to go for the Ring of Honor title. And that's another thing. Having the BCC guys beat up Roosh and Vance, why do I care about Roosh going for the Ring of Honor title?
That's true, but
he's going for the Ring of Honor title. What?
Well,
that's how much I zoned out.
No, he's not. But that's what we've been speculating, that it was going to lead to Supercard. Danny, you're actually like, it's giving me like I'm going to have a seizure if that's you.
That wasn't me.
That one was me.
I was trying to show that John Button asked a question. I wanted to acknowledge it. Reportedly, they did. That's what Tony Khan was told by New Japan directly, is that WWE did contact them, which is hilarious to me.
Shout out New Japan being straight up about that, being like, "Hey, you know your competitors called us there, right?" But yeah, James, I do think that's why Moxley ended up laying down for a long part of this match, and I guess Vance by extension. I think they are trying to set up Roosh versus Claudio for the Ring of Honor title, which in a vacuum, I don't hate that match. I think it's something I'd like to see, but I don't know. For the title, I don't know if I need it, but
if it's going to be at a Ring of Honor pay-per-view, who else is a good opponent for Roosh or for Claudio right now for the title? I think Roosh is a good one. I also think it's a weird choice to say, hey, Roosh was undefeated in AEW up until last week, so let's give him 2 losses in a row.
Well, I think he was undefeated in singles matches, if I'm not mistaken, until last week. So the only person who's beat him is Brian.
Fair point. But still, like, you don't tout the undefeated streak and then 2 televised losses in a row.
I feel like you don't even tout the undefeated streak if you're in the same company as Jade, because it's just not going to be as impressive.
Fair. Yeah, no, that's pretty fair, actually.
Yeah. And I think it wasn't even undefeated. It was just for this year, I think. Like, it wasn't like he was undefeated.
No, he's been undefeated.
The year just started.
Yeah, he's been undefeated in singles action since coming to AEW. That's what they said.
Oh, wow. So it was the entire time. Okay, my bad. I thought it was just for the year. But either way, yeah, I see what you're saying, like having him lose twice. And I understand that the second time he didn't take the pin. But it is a bit of a momentum killer, even though I still think that we're heading that way with Claudio versus Roosh. What's the next one? Supercard of Honor?
Yeah.
So and hopefully
on sale this Friday.
Hopefully, you know, they did announce that the new Ring of Honor shows are being taped soon, and we'll be getting those soon. So I imagine as that show comes around, they'll probably start setting that up more over there. All right, so let's move on after this. Actually, well, does anybody have any comment on Hangman getting his shit kicked out of him, or do we want to talk about that later?
I'm really glad
neither.
Nothing. I'm really glad that led to nothing.
I think it led to something, but we'll talk about that later. Next up, we had the sit-down interview between Wardlow and good old JR Jim Ross. And this wasn't that long, but I actually really enjoyed it. Wardlow told a story about his father and his relationship with his father, where his father and him didn't have contact with each other from the time Wardlow was 8 all the way until the time he was about, I think he said like 21 or 22. And they reconnected, and then shortly after they reconnected, Wardlow had just started wrestling, and his father was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer, and he passed shortly thereafter. And Wardlow said that the reason he grew out his hair long and he grew his beard long was because his father had both of the long hair and the beard, and he had never had it before, and he watched his father lose those things as a result of cancer. So he kept his hair long, and then Samoa Joe knew that. And then Samoa Joe, obviously, you know, adding insult to injury, cut off Wardlow's hair a few weeks back. And obviously, James, that makes this a much more personal, interesting route to go. But I really did like this. I thought it added a lot more depth and humanity to Wardlow, and it adds a bit more stakes to this feud.
I agree. I do sort of understand Eric's comment. This story would have hit way more if we heard about this prior to the hair removal. I understand that notion. I do understand that notion, but I also do love then the spin on it that that's not something Wardlow shares with everybody. That's a personal thing. That's a private thing. But he did share that with Joe, and Joe knew that and took advantage of that, and that makes that all the more heartbreaking a betrayal, considering it wasn't that heartbreaking to begin with. You know, like. Big guy attacks other big guy. Shocker. News at 11. But I did appreciate them trying to add stakes to this beyond just pride. What you did to me, I'm going to get vengeance back on you. Like, we've been there. It's played out. So this adds an extra layer to it. I do like it. I don't know where you go from here. Like, I really don't know how the War Joe feud is going to go. But I guess Wardlow wins. You know, I guess he takes the title back. But again, very convoluted way of getting here, and I do not like the haircut. He's a good-looking guy. Wardlow is a pretty piece of man meat, but that is he looks like Karrion Kross now. Not a fan.
Yeah, I don't really like the way he did the fade either, to be honest. And I hate saying that because, like I said, I do actually kind of like the way they're going about this, Danny, but the haircut's not great.
Yeah, I agree.
Could have been done better.
I agree with James. I'm not a fan of Karrion Kross, but yeah, this was more nothing for me. Like the content of the promo was good, the delivery was okay, the tone of the feud is completely off. Like, Wardlow, you're a fool. Why would you open up? You barely know the guy, bro. You've only been tagging with him for like 2 months at that point. Why are you opening up that deeply to him? Like, what is wrong with you? Are you kidding me? Like, come on, man. Put a fucking wall up, dude. What is wrong with you? Like, first of all, look, it's great that you have an opinion on this, James, but like, what would you know about having a good and healthy relationship with a father figure? Okay, let me and Rev do all the talking on this subject because we're the pros here. Okay, you know. So Rev, as you know, the best way to handle a father-son relationship is to become a mama's boy and not talk to your dad. So I think that's really where Wardlow went wrong. You shouldn't have reconnected in the first place, and then you wouldn't have got heartbroken. You know, you just become cold and you become a bitter, more angry person. And in Wardlow's case, you turn that anger into muscle, which you clearly already did, and then you turn that muscle into championships, which you did for like 2 boring months. Like, you had the formula for success. And then why'd you open up the Joe? Was he your father figure? Because again, that's another mistake there. Classic mistake. What is it? Oedipus complex? You know, kill your dad. You know, that's the lesson I think we've all learned from this. The haircut, I don't think it's as bad as you guys make it out to be. He does look a lot less. He just looks very normal now. It's not a bad haircut. It's just a normal. Like, he just looks so normal now, where he's not a normal looking guy, and that's the problem. Whereas Karrion Kross's hair looks actually bad. Like, bro, I know I made fun of you for looking like a neo-Nazi for when you have bald head, but maybe you should actually go back to that, bro, because it's like it's not working out. But like, Wardlow's just like, you just look so normal, like that, and that's about it. But yeah. Anyway, you have anything? Do you want to talk about your dad, Rev, or?
No, but I will give a shout out to Papa G. I do love that man. Danny out here trying to get this canceled. Also, I like JD just absolutely calling you out. You won't say
First of all, to Karrion's face, I mean, yeah, well, probably fucking, you know,
eat you.
No, we probably just light a cross on fire on my front lawn, but like that's fine because I don't have a front lawn. How am I trying to get?
I don't know. I'm moving on before Danny gets us completely canceled.
What did I do?
Next up, we had Mark Briscoe versus Josh Woods. This match came about from Rampage, where Smart Mark Sterling was trying to offer his services to Briscoe, and Mark Briscoe got upset about it, and Josh Woods stepped in, and we now have a match. So Woods was escorted by Smart Mark No, JD, I'm good on therapy sessions. Thank you. I had enough of those. Anyway, he was escorted by Smart Mark and along with Toni Nese and Daivari, and the latter two gentlemen jumped Briscoe when he was tossed to the outside of the ring, and Woods was distracting the referee. This led to the Lucha Brothers, of all people, coming out and defending Briscoe and fighting these guys into the back. I don't know why it was the Lucha Brothers. I don't know if it's because they just respect Mark from their battles in the past. I don't know if they just needed to get him a pop on Dynamite because they're in Texas and then like the Spanish speaking part of Texas. But they were there. I'm sure, and I'm sure this is going to be a match on Rampage. You heard it here first.
It's the first time they've been on Dynamite since losing the best of 7, and I believe this. I mean, obviously their visa issues are now cleared up.
That's good. I didn't even know they had them. So, still weird. Anyway, Briscoe's later able to take control of the match, and he had a really cool cannonball to the outside where he vaulted himself off of a chair. Woods is then able to counter a Dre Driller back inside the ring, and then hit, what was it, a rolling chaos, I think they called it? And Briscoe is able to kick out of that. Woods then hits a rising knee, and there's another kick out, and Woods brings Briscoe back to his feet. JD, we've been canceled like 6 times, don't worry. But Briscoe is able to
always James's fault.
It always is. Briscoe is able to counter Woods' setup and hit a Death Valley driver. He then goes to the top and hits the Froggy Bow to pick up the win. So, Danny, good to see Mark Briscoe on Dynamite. As we learned before, he is now All Elite, which is pretty cool. But, I mean, this match wasn't anything overly special. It was just a solid, what was it, 10-minute match or whatever.
Yeah, as funny as this offended me the least on the show, it was just a feel-good. It meant nothing. This whole episode was a nothing burger of a show, but, like, this was at least, like, a feel-good moment. So that was fine, and it's cool now that we know he's All Elite. We broke that news here first, by the way. I don't think anyone else. We had our sources. We had our inside guy find that out, and then we reported it. That was us for the first time. So yeah, good stuff. Just no complaints here. I got nothing mean to say. I got no jokes to make. I would have appreciated this more on a better card. Like, that's, I guess, the best way I can put it. But actually no, I'll say something mean. The Lucha Bros stuff was stupid. That didn't make any sense. That's again someone just, I mean, not just, but lost titles to their evil freaking bosses of all people. And that's it. You go into a nothing, like, what? I don't get it.
I'm telling you, they literally just did this to get them on the Rampage card because they're in Texas. That's all I can think of. And they were announced to be there tonight, but they didn't say they were going to be on Dynamite, so I just assumed they were going to be on Rampage or in a dark segment. But that's what this. It's setting them up to face Daivari and Toni Nese, and that's an easy win for them as they make their return. So there you go. Nice and simple, right, James?
Oh yeah. This was probably. I agree with Danny. This was like the least offensive thing on the show tonight. I think the crowd probably felt the most alive during this match for me. I was not a fan of this crowd tonight, if I'm going to be very honest. I think they kind of...
Oh, that's so funny you would say that. It's because they were chanting in Spanish so much, right, James? Because you freaking hate foreigners, and you assume that half the crowd snuck over the border, and that's why you had a problem with them. We understand what you're going for. Rev, this is why we're getting canceled. This is why we're getting crossled.
See, safe with it.
Crossled. Trademark it. Put it back on the goddamn screen. Anyway, I think Mark was really able to get the crowd behind him. I love that little bit right before he set the chair up, where he was trying to get the crowd to clap. So he's like closing the chair.
Yeah.
Like, I thought that was fun. And there is history here between him and Woods going back to Ring of Honor stuff.
Well, I'm gonna have to revoke your guys' privileges on this thing. I swear to God,
absolutely not.
If you can't behave
I
yourselves,
should take over. I feel like I should
behave yourselves. I'm revoking your privileges. I'm gonna put you in timeout.
Anyway,
I have the login.
I enjoyed this match. It was fun, and I'm really happy Mark Briscoe is all elite, and I hope they find a way to naturally insert him into things that don't just feel like it's, hey, look at us putting Mark Briscoe on TV. You know, I want something substantial for him.
I think we'll get it soon around the same time we get like, not saying he's going to feud with Adam Cole, but I think, along those lines, we're going to get a few weeks of just enjoying the feel good moments. And then we'll get something a little more to sink our teeth into,
Yeah, him with just like good matchups, just good wrestling, get into the flow of being on AEW television and stuff. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I could see that. And yeah, like you said, James, I'm happy he's on TV, and and I hope he's doing well. I hope this is helping him too.
Mm-hmm.
So all power to him. All right. So after this, we had the Adam Cole interview with Renee Paquette. There wasn't a lot to this. Cole said he's close to returning to the ring, and he really wants to get back in there. But right now, he's going to take the small wins in terms of his health and stuff, and those are, what's going to keep him going. And then he also mentions that he's got a few ideas about who on the roster he wants to face in the future, but he's keeping that to himself right now. So this is honestly kind of just a whole lot of nothing, but good to see Adam Cole. And I do think they're very much setting him up to be a face in the future, which there you go, Dave Meltzer. There's your top face. What up, Navarro? Good to see you, man. All right, next up, we had MJF's contractually obligated appearance. It's literally what they called it. That's what it was. Anyway, he comes out and he just starts ripping on Bryan. And he says that the reason he hates Danielson is because that he has the people convinced that Bryan is better than him. He asks the people why they like Bryan, whether it's because he does all the cool moves and holds, whether it's the 5-star bangers. Yes, Navarro, we agree. Dynamite was indeed a little weak tonight. Anyway, MJF says that the nice holds and the bangers are not why they got into wrestling. They got into wrestling to be the best. And the thing that says that he's the best is the AEW World Championship. And then it goes on to say that Bryan will use all of the skills that he picked up all around the world to defeat him in Revolution. But at the end of the 60 minutes, MJF will still be champion. And then he asked Christopher Daniels to come down. And I was really happy to see CD. We haven't seen him on TV in what feels like forever. And I really like him. So I'm glad he was on TV. So Daniels comes down, and he's supposed to tell the truth about Bryan, but CD admits that Max paid him a fuck ton of money to just talk shit for like 10 minutes about him. So he takes the cash and throws it in Max's chest, and then starts telling the truth about Bryan, that he's going to knock MJF's stick in the dirt, and then goes on to tell about Bryan's beginnings in wrestling, the first time they wrestled each other, and how, the story of Danielson's career kind of coincides with the creation of Ring of Honor, and then that leading into the creation of AEW. CD then tells Max that he hates Bryan because he's everything Max wants to be, while Max is just a fraud. And as he's saying that he's a fraud, MJF knocks the mic out of Daniel's hand and gets in his face. And when CD goes to walk away, MJF grabs his arm and pulls him back, causing CD just absolutely bitch slap the hell out of him. This obviously pisses off MJF, who starts backing down as CD tries to get in his face. And then MJF, as he is wont to do, kicks Daniels square in the dick. Daniels goes down, and MJF puts on the salt of the earth until Bryan comes out, and MJF scampers away. So, James, I liked CD's role in this a lot, obviously. I thought his part of the promo was great. Max's was good. Not same old shit out of him. We got a little bit more. Yeah. But, obviously we've seen him do so much better that when he has a promo that's not phenomenal, we're all like, oh, that was a shit promo from MJF. But overall, I really enjoyed this segment.
No, I agree. I thought this was a lot better of a showing for MJF than we've seen in a while. A lot less of the low-hanging fruit that he tends to go after. Again, I was very happy to see CD here. He's a veteran that I think could be used a lot better than they have been for a long time. But, I mean, have you heard the songs Jeff has made? Why? Why are we doing this?
But just causing chaos here.
I enjoyed the segment. it ended a little predictably. Like we knew the dick kick was coming.
It always does.
I would have actually liked to see Brian get his hands on MJF. I feel like they've been keeping them apart a little bit too long. I mean, I know MJF was able to attack him last week, so it would have been nice maybe to see Brian get a little revenge this week. But it was all good. Yeah, totally fine, contractually obligated appearance. Totally
I did. Yep, I did fail to mention earlier that Brian did have a promo after the opening match, and it was from last week after MJF had jumped him. It was actually really good. You know, I enjoyed it, but I was so busy writing down everything that happened in the first match, I didn't get to do everything else. But Danny, what did you feel about this segment?
I think you guys have vastly undersold it. I think this was great. I think this was probably my favorite part of the show. I might change my mind by the end of the show, but especially because of Brian's video package / promo from last week, him whatever filter they used on it made it like even like more gritty. He's covered in blood. He's backstage. I think this was arguably the best promo Brian's had in the company, even though he has had a lot of really good ones. But like he just seemed like on another level. Like that is the Brian I've wanted. And this, again, you know, the same thing me and James always say is that, you know, everything would be so much better if he was more credible and he hadn't lost all the matches he lost. If he didn't lose to fucking Chris Jericho's of the worlds and Daniel Garcia's and Moxley over and over and Hangman over and over. You know, if he hadn't had all those losses, this would literally be my favorite feud in so fucking long, since literally this time last year, Punk and MJF. Like, because I do think you can't compare the two because it's just that was a dream feud, whereas this is just an amazing feud. But like, it's in terms of quality of feud, I think it is as good. It just doesn't have that, like, you know, this is just isn't a dream feud. It's just a good feud. Like if this was in November, I would be on the edge of my seat every week, and I'm borderline am still there with this. That being said, when we have the last man standing match and the pay-per-view has already been going on for 6 hours at that point, I'm gonna fucking hate it. But like this, I love this, and oh my god, bringing out Christopher Daniels was so great. We're all CD fans here. We're all part of the Christopher Daniels crew, the CDC, if you will. And you know, definitely just listen to everything we say and take it at face value. And that's that. We the authority on the subject. Listen to us. We're the CDC.
We even have an Italian guy leading us.
I'm also Italian, but
yeah, so am I. But James has the most Italian name, so
fair enough. I think he has the most Italian face too, honestly. But yeah, I thought this was great. I thought Christopher Daniels was nice. Bringing him out was just nice. It's always nice to bring out that respected veteran or legend to just run down the heel and put over the baby face. I'm always a fan of those. Yeah, I think we will get an MJF CD match at some point, Eric. I do think that.
Honestly, I thought that was going to end up coming out of this too, and it hasn't been announced, but we'll see. MJF just wrestles so little, and he already wrestled last week that.
Yeah.
Plus, I don't know how often Daniels wants to wrestle. You know, he's obviously taken much more of a backstage role recently. So, but I'd love to see that match because I just love to see Daniels.
Yeah. So I thought this was great, and don't get me wrong, it wasn't going to be as good as the promo we had last week, but like, it's hard to follow that. And I realized why this show was so bad or so lackluster is because Brian didn't wrestle. And they had to fill the show with other nonsense.
That's a good point.
Same thing about the Elite. I agree wholeheartedly.
I'm sorry, the ratings don't agree with that from last week, but whatever. Anyway, yeah, that's it. This was great. You guys undersold it. But the show weighed everything down. So I can understand this because it wasn't the best thing ever. How you guys thought it sucked. I get it.
I did not think it sucked at all. I really enjoyed this promo.
I loved the Brian promo that was earlier in the night that we weren't talking about. I didn't care I'm not saying, but we were talking about one thing, and then after I spoke, you brought it up. So my comment did not count for it. I enjoyed the Bryan promo a lot. The MJF in-ring promo was fine to good, but the Bryan promo was excellent, I thought.
Fine to good if you're holding it to an impossible standard. If you're comparing it, it's a better promo than Kenny's ever cut in his goddamn life. Like,
I don't know why we're bringing Kenny into it.
I don't know either. I honestly don't. I like Kenny. This poor guy, you know.
You just can't help yourself to attack me.
Yeah, that's the thing.
I think it was good. It felt random. Like Christopher Daniels came out of nowhere. Like they've never acknowledged Bryan Danielson and Christopher Daniels' relationship. Like
that's a very wrestling thing. It's like, how many times did Mick Foley come out and interrupt someone he had no business interrupting and be like, hey, this person XYZ? That's a typical wrestling thing. That's not a random out of nowhere thing. It is random by nature, but it is a relatively common wrestling, not even trope, but it's just a thing that does happen in wrestling.
Didn't Bryan and Daniels face off
on the night where Tony Khan announced that he bought Ring of Honor?
Yeah, because that was the first Ring of Honor match ever. Yeah, so they have acknowledged it, just not since then.
They've acknowledged Ring of Honor history. I never really thought that they acknowledged their personal history, but it's whatever. I'm just bitter about the Blackpool Combat Club. They're bringing everybody into this but them. It feels weird.
I mean, I don't disagree with you. I don't disagree with you about that, but I actually think that's because they're above the Blackpool Combat Club right now.
Navarro in the chat has an interesting point. He's saying that there's only two feuds that he's enjoying right now, and it's this one and the Mox and Hangman one. And honestly, after tonight, I could kind of see that because you have the Joe Wardlow thing, and that's just starting to simmer. So we'll see how that ends up going. And then the Acclaimed Ass Boys stuff we all don't like because we think the winning was stupid.
I am intrigued by the women's feud right now. I don't
That's
know.
The other one I'm really enjoying.
Yeah, I'm into it. Yeah, like I think it's very promising. I don't know that they're necessarily gonna hit the mark in the end, but there's a lot of promise to that feud, I think.
Yeah, that's definitely, I think, the most intriguing of all the feuds right now, the women's one, and because they just have so much room to play with that I'm really curious to see how it all ends up playing out.
Yeah, I agree.
But, continuing.
Yeah, continue. Yeah, lead the way, James. Yeah, we'll sit back. And
I don't know. No, I don't know.
What happened next, James?
I'm segueing. I'm a segue.
Oh, you know what? No, never mind. We don't even need to talk about the match that happened. We need to talk about what happened after this match. No one gives a rat's ass about this goddamn match between Brian Cage and Jungle Boy Jack Perry. Okay, Navarro, there's only two things that interest you. Yeah, how about the hero returning? The hero Christian Cage returning to finish the fucking job he tried to start and killing off the monster that is Jungle Boy. Because after this nothing of a match, Christian made his return and still had his brace on, but Jungle Boy, being the heel, tried to attack an injured old man despite that. But Christian, practicing his Second Amendment rights, came bearing arms and protected himself with pepper spray. And
with bearing arms, bear mace.
Nice. Oh, God. And then took out Jungle Boy, laid him out to the conquering hero that he is, which only means it's only a matter of time. Check your watches. I don't have my watch on right now, but it's only a matter of time until Luchasaurus returns. And then the heroes will win, and we can live happily ever after. It really has become a Shrek 2 of itself, this feud. Any notes on Christian's return? I assume we all want to skip the match, except for Rev, who has this compulsive need to give notes about the show. But that's our fault. We've really enabled him with that habit.
Not wrong, like about both the compulsiveness to give notes and the fact that this match was kind of nothing. It just happened. And sure, it was okay, and it's a good win for Jungle Boy on paper because of wins and
Is it a good win? Who hasn't beaten Brian Cage?
Well, they were saying that Brian Cage has one of like the best win-losses this year, win-loss records this year, and like it's a good win for Jungle Boy to move up the rankings. Like, yeah, I agree. It's Brian Cage. You beat him.
Eric, if you want Christian talking shit about dead parents, you better hope he goes in a feud with Wardlow. Anyway, moving on.
Yeah. Well, I was just gonna say I liked Christian's return here. I liked the way he came back. The mace was funny, and then you're right. It does kind of expose Jungle Boy as being a bit of an asshole or attacking somebody in the sling, but also too it.
Whoa! Come on.
It's not the best look attacking a man in the sling, but
the man in the sling brought up his dead dad and wanting to bang his mom. I don't care if he's in a full body cast. It's on site.
It sounds like Christian, knew Jungle Boy was struggling with daddy issues and knew that his mom was lonely and tried to comfort her and help her move on in life. So in my book, he's still the good guy. And Jungle Boy had a lot of stuff to work through, and Christian is helping him do it.
I just wanted to say that the thud of Jungle Boy's head hitting that ramp was so sickening. Like that, I guess just because of the way the LEDs and the plastic are set up, like it was just a boom, and it sounded so like good or so bad in a good way. Like it just sounded brutal, and it was awesome. James, you want to defend your boy here, Jungle Boy?
He did nothing wrong. He did nothing wrong except for not expect Christian to be an asshole or a CLB, if you will, a creepy little bastard. That's a throwback, kids. For from 2003.
I don't think Eric watched wrestling back then, but
I didn't.
That's defense. Yeah, way to defend the privileged white boy with a famous dad. As opposed to the hardworking, the guy who had to work hard to not be the Genetti of his team. Against the guy who was actively trying to make his partner the Genetti of the team.
Actively?
Yeah, actively. He's actively holding Luchasaurus down.
Still?
I mean, James, right now, the court has Danny in the right. Like, Danny's winning this case.
No, this is biased. This is... I don't trust any of you.
He's making a more compelling argument about Jungle Boy being a heel than you are of him being a face. The only face in Jungle Boy has done recently is be nice to Hook.
Yeah, where's Hook now? Hook was off TV.
But you know what? All right, that's a good point. But Hook chose to save Jungle Boy, which means Hook saw something good in Jungle Boy. And I think we can...
No, Hook just still has heel tendencies, That
doesn't sound right.
He never properly broke up with Team Taz. He didn't have the moment that Ricky Starks had with Hobbs, where they feuded. He didn't have the Brian Cage outward feud. He just went a little lone wolf, and now he's trying to find new friends. And he still has those heel tendencies, so he confided in Jungle Boy. He saw a lot of his younger self in Jungle Boy, and was like, "Oh, that guy is an asshole like I was a year ago. Maybe I can change him." That's probably what Hook was thinking. All I'm saying is when Luchasaurus returns to TV, look at that, man. The guy can't get on TV as long as Jungle Boy has anything to say about it. He has to get on TV in spite of Jungle Boy. Christian's on. Next thing we know, Christian's going to bring back Marco Stunt, and he'll really prove that he's the hero.
If he brings back Marco Stunt, I will cheer for Christian and I will boo Jungle Boy. Deal?
And Edge.
Deal.
And Edge.
Wait, if Christian brings in Edge?
No, if he brings in Marco, you got to boo Jungle Boy and Edge.
Why do I got to boo Edge?
I'm going to boo Edge anyway. He's facing off Judgment Day. You think I'm going to boo Mommy? Get out of here.
True.
So you're going to boo Beth Phoenix? You're going to boo Beth Phoenix?
Yeah, why not?
No, I'm gonna chant both these girls, but then when Edge gets in the ring, I'm like, "Fuck you, Edge." You know,
You know what?
maybe not
That's a
fuck
fair
you. I
argument.
don't feel that strongly against Edge, but I'm gonna boo him.
But I have to boo him.
Yeah, that's the deal.
Fair enough.
Okay. After this, we had the aforementioned thing with Renee and the Acclaimed, and then we came back from commercial with the Elite. They're hanging out backstage talking about the All-Star game this weekend and the NBA. They're very excited. It's going to be mid. It's always mid. Hopefully the dunk contest is a little bit better. I digress. They're interrupted by AR Fox and Top Flight. They want another go at it after they almost beat the Elite last week, but Don Callis immediately kills that idea because he's apparently the only smart one out of all of them. And then Dante says that the Elite just like to play with balls, but they don't have any, and this pisses off the Elite. So they end up accepting the challenge, and this ends with Matt Jackson passing the ball to Brandon Cutler, who's holding the camera, so he can't catch it, and Cutler gets it right in the huevos. So there you go. After that, we had Hangman Adam Page versus Kip Sabian. You want to talk about nothing matches? This match, I feel like this match didn't have much in it, quite frankly. I think the only thing of note for me was just kind of Hangman selling of perhaps some post-concussion symptoms. He was grabbing his head throughout the match and at the end of it, shaking it, blinking a lot. A lot of things where, because he got jumped early in the night, he probably got rocked again. And once you get one concussion, you're more susceptible to get another one, especially in the short term. So, I think that was the more important thing about this match. But quite frankly, nobody cares what happened in this match. We care about what happened after the match, because once the match was over, the Blackpool Combat Club came out, minus Brian, obviously. So Mox comes into the ring along with the other guys, and he says that while Hangman thinks they have unfinished business, Mox is pretty sure they don't, because Mox pinned him last week. And even though Mox has respect for him, this is done. It's over. Hangman then asks Mox if he really wants it to end this way, if he really wants it to end with the ball and chain roll up, because Hangman thinks it should end at Revolution. One of them done. Go on the street, the dark street alley, and the other one doesn't come back out. Mox is like, I'm glad you said that. That works for me, and I'm glad you don't have any friends to talk you out of it. This prompts the Dark Order to come out. They're back with Hangman. We're all happy. Except Hangman. He's pretty pissed because at least on what was that? Being the Elite. Yes, thank you. There we go. On Being the Elite, he has asked Uno and the Dark Order to stay away from Mox because he doesn't want them getting involved. He doesn't want them getting hurt. So Uno comes into the ring and he steps to Mox saying that he heard what Mox said and Mox is wrong. That Hangman obviously does have friends. They've had Hangman's back for the last 2 years. And then he says the only reason that he hasn't stepped to Mox earlier is because Hangman had asked him not to, but he's heard enough now, and he wants Mox to know that the Dark Order is not afraid of him, and that Evil Uno is not afraid of Jon Moxley. And when Moxley tries to step around Uno to go for Hangman, Uno takes his face and pushes Mox back, which enrages Moxley, and he's right in Uno's face until they're pulled apart. Moxley then looks past Uno and just goes, Hangman, Texas Death, and walks out. So Hangman, super pissed off at the Dark Order for coming out, but he's got his match at Revolution in a Texas Death match against Mox. And James, this is going to be awesome.
Oh, I love this. This was my fuck the match. Who cares? This was my favorite part of the night. This was my favorite segment of the night. One, I am a gigantic mark for the Dark Order. So to see them show up again, fantastic. And to see Uno just be just his gigantic balls. Just like, my God, those meaty clankers of his just walking right up to Moxley. It was awesome.
Have you seen the training that the Dark Order do? I'm not surprised.
I'm loving this. I'm loving this. And still, it's captivating to me. Neither man is a heel to me. I don't think Moxley's a heel. I don't think Hangman's a heel. I think they're two baby faces with egos the size of Texas. and they don't want to back down to one another. I love this feud. I see in the comments the feud no one asked for. I loved it. I think this feud has revitalized Hangman. And Moxley, like, granted, it feels like Moxley's been bored since before MJF, but he feels like invested again a little bit here. I think he's having fun with what he's doing. So I don't know. I'm loving all aspects of this. And quite frankly, once I saw on the graphic card later on that the Beaver Boys are in the Battle Royal, I want them to win it. I want them to get a spot going for the tag titles. I know they're not going to, but I want that to happen too. So this was great. I'm so hyped for next week. I know Uno is going to get murdered by Moxley, but Uno's a great wrestler, and I want him on TV more.
You say that. You say he's a great wrestler, but I remember his elimination from the last Battle Royal he was in, and that was the most embarrassing thing I've ever seen.
Come on. Top Dollar. Yeah, come on.
I was going to say,
Dollar,
even
Top
in
Dollar
AEW, Matt Sydal's debut.
That's a slip. That's a fall. That Evil Uno
most embarrassing.
sold. That was bad. It made him look incompetent. Whereas the other that was two people falling, which is bad. But like that was anyway. I disagree with the match. It should be a last man standing match.
I was gonna say I disagree too.
Isn't it?
No, it's a Texas Death match.
Isn't that another last man standing match, just with different like rules? Because I remember the Mox Archer match, but hasn't Hangman? What is it called? Okay, if it is, then yeah, that's the perfect match for it. But I probably maybe I'm confusing it with the Lights Out match, which is another thing they do too much with. Like, yeah,
they really one of those in a while though.
But yeah, I do.
I agree. No matter what, I would like this to be a count of 10 type of match. But I could have swore this was that, unless I am.
No, you're probably right. I'm probably mistaken. Look, when you watch the show in a disassociative haze, you miss a couple things.
So I've looked it up, and according to Pro Wrestling Wiki, a Texas Death Match is a wrestling match similar to the Last Man Standing match.
Okay,
the only difference being that you must be pinned, then a 10 count is initiated. So there's a pinfall, and then you have to get off.
No, that's not what they're doing. I genuinely don't believe that's what they're doing. I think they're just doing a last man standing match and calling it a Texas Death Match.
Yeah.
In which case, yeah, perfect match for this. No, I disagree with Eric. I'm still into the. Sorry, producer boy, but I'm still into the feud. This was just a weaker week, like most things on the show, and that's fine. I liked the Dark Order coming out. I liked Uno stepping up and going against Hangman's wishes. I can't take him seriously. He sounds like a cartoon character.
Kind of is. It's the point.
Yeah, but like what's I've never seen the movie, but I imagine that's what a Betamax sounds like in Big Hero 6. So that's what the kind of vibes he's giving off here. I don't know how accurate that is because I've never seen it, but I'll reference something without having seen it. But other than that, yeah, whatever. What was the match? Kip Sabian.
Yeah.
I like Kip Sabian. It's too late for you, bro. Go to WWE.
He needs to go somewhere else. He either needs to go to WWE or he needs to go to Impact, or he needs to wait for Ring of Honor to just get a show.
Nope. Go to Impact or go to WWE. Fuck Ring of Honor. Don't go there.
I think he'd do well in Impact.
Yeah, I agree. That's why I say, yeah, actually, I agree with that completely.
He's got that gimmick, I feel like, that translates well over there, and they know how to book those types of things.
Impact really knows how to work with gimmicky guys, like guys that feel like they were kind of like mid-90s to almost Attitude Era guys, where it's like, you're a character, you have a persona, but I don't know what else is going on with you.
Okay, but here's the thing.
That guy.
I really don't watch Impact, and I don't always have the time to watch Impact. How could I keep up with Impact even if I'm not watching it?
their YouTube numbers, I think, are better than AEW's YouTube numbers.
Oh my fucking god!
Well, does that include the fact that they actually stream the episode on YouTube?
No, I'm talking like when they post segments. I think those segments sometimes do better than AEW's YouTube segments.
Okay, look, we got to move on because why are we still talking about this? But like, I was setting you up to plug your Impact reviews.
Oh shit!
I feel like I laid it on really, really thick. Can we get a rewind real quick and like I feel like I wasn't being subtle or coy at all. I was very like I feel like I was very over the top about it.
I thought, because I'm used to you busting my chops more often than not, I thought that you were like, but if I don't want to watch Impact, how do I watch? Like, why would I care? Like, that's what I thought you were doing.
No, I was putting the ball on a freaking tee for you.
I did bad in T-ball. I need the balls thrown at my face. And when it's just
whoa, hey.
That sounded perfectly reasonable.
Yeah, I'm sad. Can we move on?
Watch Impact Zone tomorrow after Impact.
All right, can you guys edit it to make it look like he said that immediately after I asked the question? Okay.
We're live, buddy.
You guys are producers. What are you doing?
No, honestly, look, I really like this because I thought Uno looked phenomenal in this. It's the first time I think I've seen Uno look like tough, and and that sounds mean, but like he's been playing such a goofball for the last couple of years that like him coming out here and looking like a fucking badass and standing up to the baddest dude on the planet, like in kayfabe, like that's awesome. I'm looking forward to this match. I think. Look, Uno's going to get killed by the end of it, but I think he's going to have a pretty good showing because I think Moxley's going to underestimate him in the beginning, and then Uno's going to just get his fucking shit kicked in.
This promo made me like I had given up on Dark Order, and I'm still pretty much accepting the fact that Dark Order is dead. But this promo made me want them to revitalize Dark Order in a way that hasn't been a thing in a very long time. So they probably won't. But I would love to see Uno have that new character of more authoritative and actually start recruiting guys back into the Dark Order.
Oh, there's a guy who's doing fuck all they could recruit. His name's like Preston Vance. Like he's the type of nobody I think they would be able to recruit.
They should probably get a woman in there too, right? I would think. There's probably one on the JAS they could probably borrow. They got two. Off. You can take at least one.
I would prefer if they take Ty. I think it would be funnier.
I mean, absolutely it'd be funnier, but I was going to disagree and say that she's not worse off, but Anna is.
Yeah, Anna is worse off than she was before.
Anna.
Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah.
Is it main event time?
Almost. I will say one last note. I think, James, there is a path for the Dark Order as currently constructed to win the Trios title, but it's got to be one of those. It can't be now, obviously, and I don't even think it could be for quite a while, but you could have it just, be one of those things where like there's just a groundswell of support for them, and then they come up as an underdog and, like a Daniel Bryan type of thing or like a Mick Foley type of run there where they get the titles and they hold on to them for a little while. But I don't think you could do it yet, because the titles are too new. All right. Well, like Danny said, it's almost it's almost main event time. It was Dark Order time. We had a quick backstage interview with the Jericho Appreciation Society. Jericho refuses to give Ricky Starks another match because this is still happening. But Starks is facing off against Daniel Garcia on Friday, and Garcia says he'll expose Ricky as an absolute fraud. Then we had a backstage interview with Stokely Hathaway and the Firm. Hook broke Stokely's arm last week, and Stokely wants justice. He wants Hook either suspended or fired. Matt Hardy then starts asking Stokely why he wasn't at the party last night that Hardy had thrown, and Stokely was like upset that nobody told him, and they were talking about the party until Shivani got word that Hook had officially been suspended pending investigation. And now we move on to the main event, where we had Ruby Soho, Toni Storm, and Dr. Britt Baker, DMD. Thank you for just putting stuff.
Sorry, I was trying to do that while you were talking about the Stokely
It's okay. I was trying to do it as fast as possible because I didn't have any banners written up for it. I digress. Anyway, as Toni Storm and Saraya made their entrance, they spotted a fan with a DMD sign, so they decided to go over to her. Toni took the sign and ripped it in half, and then Saraya actually pulled her out of the crowd, and they were probably going to spray paint her with an L, but Ruby started making her entrance, and this dissuaded the two assholes from doing that. And then Ruby went down to check on the woman. So that was good. At the start of the match, both Toni and Britt were trying to
Can I just say, I think it would have been cooler if she just spray painted the sign while the fan was holding it. I feel like
that's what I thought they were going to do.
But yeah.
Yeah, I thought they were just going to either take the sign or just spray paint the L on it while she was holding it. It would have made it a lot less conspicuous. I think so. That they should just do that in general. It would be cool. Anyway, at the start of the match, both Toni and Britt were trying to get Ruby to like follow them and help them out to defeat the other one. But Ruby instead just attempted to roll both of them up, kind of putting herself squarely in the middle. Later in the match, after Toni took out Ruby, Britt and Toni are left in a one-on-one situation, and Britt is able to get the best of the exchange, landing a rolling elbow and then a fisherman's neck breaker, but Toni is able to kick out of that. Britt then goes after Ruby in the corner, but she gets back tripped by Ruby, and Ruby goes to the top rope for the senton. And when she jumps, she is greeted with a straight right hand from Toni Storm, which honestly looked nasty as hell in like a good way. And then Toni locks in the Texas Cloverleaf. Britt is able to come to. She then also goes and jumps on Ruby, and she tries to get in the lockjaw, leading to the who wins if Ruby taps out situation. But Saraya jumps in the ring and gets involved, kicking Britt off of Ruby. This leads Toni to go out to the outside, and she hits a spinning DDT on to Jamie Hayter, who had come out with Britt and was on the outside as well. And then they cut back to Saraya hitting what I think is her finisher on Britt. I don't know if that's what she's using. They didn't really mention it. It just kind of happened, and Excalibur missed it. Either way, she took Britt out in the ring. Toni then comes back into the ring and has Saraya spray paint an L onto her ass for some reason. And then she hits the running hip attack into the corner, obviously just destroying Britt. And then Toni goes to the pin, but Ruby comes back.
Why obviously?
Because he has the fucking most devastating hip attack in the corner in all of wrestling, and it's not even close.
Thank you. Anyway, Toni goes to the pin, but Ruby comes in. She throws Toni out onto Saraya and rolls up Britt for the win. After the match, both Saraya and Jamie get into the ring, and they're like screaming at each other and at Ruby and like trying to get Ruby to pick a side, I guess. And Ruby just yells enough and basically tells them to fuck off, and they fuck off, and Ruby celebrates her win. So, Danny, I like this match mostly because I think it was one of the better matches on the card, but that's not saying much today. But is this advancing the storyline that Ruby is doing her best to remain neutral here? But I think we're advancing this. She's going to have to pick a side thing.
I agree. I think this might be my favorite thing on the show. I think it is. I love that this main evented. It was the second best women's triple threat match to main event a wrestling show this week, so that's pretty good. That's the only I can knock it. It wasn't as good as the triple threat we had on Raw, and I could say that because I'm the authority on that. But it was a lot of fun, and I like that Ruby won because now she's beaten both Toni and Britt, so she's beaten both sides of this story, which would actually give credence to them wanting Ruby on their side. So she is looking good in this, and she did the little, the gesture for the belts. So
yeah, she stared it down when Jamie was holding it next to her as well.
That was a key detail I liked of this. It kind of got lost in everything, but when she screamed enough and was stopping them, she kind of stopped doing that when she looked at the title and kind of got distracted by that before Jamie ended up, leaving and going to check on Britt and then fucking off, like you said. But, I think we're going to get somehow, some way, we're going to get Paige or Saraya versus Soho versus Hayter. Definitely. And you know what? I like this too because it harkens back to the only other time Ruby as main event of the show, which was we were at, for Grand Slam, the first one, where she didn't get the win on Britt. So getting the pin on Britt here was a nice little touch to add to that. I wouldn't have changed much about this match. Maybe would have cut, the Stokely promo and the Elite promo and the Jungle Boy match, and giving it more time. But it was good. That's the thing, Eric. I don't think Saraya has to win, even though biasly I would like it if she did. Put the title on a star, nothing can go wrong from there. But
yeah, it worked out real well last time.
Yeah, I don't see the problems.
I also don't think that if Hayter loses the title, that it would necessarily be hot potatoing at this point. I think she's had a bunch of defenses. I think she's had a bunch of defenses, and she's held it for a couple months.
Yeah, would she win it in November? Full gear?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's fine. A pay-per-view to pay-per-view reign is fine, especially when it's an AEW, so that means 3 or 4 months sometimes.
Yeah.
But
I also don't necessarily think Saraya wins in that scenario, because I think either Hayter retains or I think Ruby wins. I think Saraya is probably the odd person out of that one. Because
I think you put it on the star.
I think this could be a bit of a situation where, like, you had the Triple H, Shawn Michaels, and Redacted triple threat, and the feud between Michaels and Triple H distracts them, and they end up losing the title out to Redacted. And I think that could be a situation where Hayter and Saraya are just trying to fight each other because they're in a feud, and Ruby takes advantage of the situation and wins the title. It's an option. It's an option. I'm not saying it's going to happen.
I love Ruby, and I would love for her to win the title. I think she is the least likely to win the title. I think Hayter has more of a chance of retaining.
Yeah, I think I prefer that.
Well, the only reason
loving Hayter as champ.
Love him. I think you just love Hayter. Like, her title reign's not bad, but I don't think it's love worthy. I think it's just
good
so far.
That's probably fair.
Yeah, I think you're lusting after her title reign. But Eric,
I'm not Eric.
Look, everything you're saying, you got to understand that it's all Thunder Rosa's fault. So don't take it out on these other women. But also remember that happened in November, and it's now February, and the match would happen in March. So it's really not a hot potato.
Right.
But and Toni's interim reign was also 3 months. So it's really
at this point, it's longer than Toni's reign.
Wow, a lot.
At this point, it's a lukewarm potato at best. It's probably room temperature, in all honesty. But I thought this was a fun main event. I didn't expect it to main event, but it's good. You couldn't have the match originally because Britt had the surprising injury that never happens to her. So you push it off, and then you do it again, and you give it more of a platform than you did the first time. When wrestling does that, it's good. When they just did it with the cage match with Becky and Bayley, they got to main event instead of being in the middle of a show. But it was very obvious that, the stuff that happened in the match was supposed to happen on Raw 30, like having a legend come back at the end to make the save. But, that's the kind of makeup thing you do, and it makes these things better. And, maybe you can criticize this match all you want, and maybe I'm overhyping it and, enjoying it more. But considering that this easily could have been in the death slot, and then had one of these matches less deservingly main event over it, I'll take it. The fact that this main evented, I was thrilled with that, and the fact that Ruby feels like a credible fucking wrestler on the roster again, fantastic. Britt's always going to be fine, so her taking the pin was right. Toni getting the main event was awesome. Toni, I don't think this is a bold statement, but because we have a person who hates women and hates foreigners, he's not going to give her the credit. But she was the best wrestler in this match. Out of the three of them, she's the best wrestler. I think she proved that in this match. They're all pretty close. It's like a neck and neck sort of thing.
Yeah, I was say they're all pretty damn good.
Yeah. I love Ruby. I think Ruby has always been fantastic and never really gets to fully show it. But I think Toni was not the vet in this match, but kind of the vet calling the shots in this match. But it was all good. Great match. I don't have much negative to say about it, which is refreshing for the AEW women's division to no fault of their own, of course. Everyone keep in mind when we complain about the women's division, and I'm speaking.
We're complaining about Tony Khan.
Yeah, and I'm speaking not just for us. I'm speaking for all people criticizing the division, or at least 90% of them. It's really a criticism of Tony Khan. So it was fantastic. What did you guys think?
James?
I liked it a lot. I think it accomplished its job of keeping the story moving, progressing a lot of their motivations. I really don't know how I still feel about Toni and Saraya as like these mean girl, like this unit that they are.
Well, you're part of the reason to blame, okay? So you got to deal with it.
Why?
Because you immediately started hating on her on the week 2 because she's foreign and a woman.
I hated her for reasons that have nothing to do with either of those things. I think she came back expecting things, and on some level she deserved them, because why wouldn't she? She came back from injury too, just the way a lot of other stars did. But all those stars eventually got booed as well. Bryan and Edge, they got booed when they came back from their retirement stuff. But Saraya just felt like she really didn't put that much energy in her return. And her promos were very suspect. They were calling people out from the get-go. That's not like, I think she should be a heel, and I think she's a great heel. I think she has everything in her to be a great heel. But I think, again, she's just sort of going for like a lazy route. Like, I think she's going for cheap heat. And sometimes cheap heat is fine. I don't hate cheap heat, but I think she's better than that. And I've been saying that the Toni Storm turn was so random that he absolutely did eventually. Not this quickly, but not as quickly. Yeah.
But the thing to take away from all that, which we've all agreed on at earlier points in this podcast, is that it wasn't as much about them as much as their portrayal was so botched that it led to us booing them.
And I think the same thing for Saraya. I think her
portrayal
was really
I agree with that. I agree
worse
with that.
than Bryan or Edge when they came back. Bryan, we were just happy. Oh my God, he's back. We never thought this would happen. When it happened with Edge, we were already warmed up because of Bryan, So that impossible felt less impossible when he came back. It was still an excellent moment. And I think it was hampered by the fact that he wrestled Randy Orton for 5 years after. But,
that definitely did.
And that was just one match.
That was good. That was really good. With Saraya, it just, her portrayal out the gate, it wasn't, I'm back, I'm Paige again. Like, that would have been fine, and that would have gotten her through the first couple of months. It was just legitimately, I'm putting a line in the sand with some of you, not with all of you. It wasn't, I'm putting the AEW women's division on notice, I'm here, get ready. It was, I don't like you, and I don't like you, but you're cool, fuck off.
You're cool, fuck you.
And I know I did that. It was a weird thing. It was a weird thing. And I think they pivoted in the right direction. I just don't like the method in which they've pivoted. But
it almost kind of felt like they were trying to go for the Saraya leads the faces against Britt in the heels thing. And then she just wasn't getting over the way they wanted, so they pivoted to Saraya leads the ex-WWE women against Britt and the AEW quote-unquote originals, and then that leads to Ruby getting stuck in the middle. So, interesting pivot. I don't mind it. I actually really like it, and I think because it has led to Ruby being in the middle, it has created some intriguing options here. I like it. I agree with you, James. I like the match. And it moved the story forward. So I'm cool with all of this.
I will say it's the first week where it felt like it was getting the time it deserved. So I feel like this was the first week where it felt less messy. Like, Navarre, you're not a fan of the story, but like up until this point, I get it. But I feel like this was a good step in actually getting where they're intended instead of just doing the bare minimum and expecting us to take it a certain way. So
look what happens when you give the women time. Wow. Imagine that.
Hey, it was better than last week's fucking shitty ending to the show. So, we take those and, whatever, man. This has. So I agree the turn was way too fast, but
I think they kind of had to James's point. Like I don't know if she was getting booed, but she definitely wasn't getting the reactions that they thought she was going to get in terms of like full blown returning babyface. So I think it was just kind of easier for them to just turn her heel and then eventually, they can turn her back face. But and I also think that's mostly just because she had a lot of ring rust. And I thought that was pretty evident in her first couple of matches. And I think we're all expecting old school, one of the best wrestlers in the company, Paige. And we've gotten, ring rust. I haven't wrestled in 5 years, Saraya.
I still think it was just her promos. I think it was her character.
That didn't help.
I don't think it had. For me, I understood with the wrestling. I got it.
Yeah.
I was willing to give her a pass to warm back into it. 100% for me, it was character work.
Yeah, I agree too, because the character work definitely, she just walked around like she was better than everybody else, even as a face.
Yeah.
Because she was the one picking who was good and who wasn't, who were the ones that she wanted to lead into this, AEW women's division revolution and who she wasn't going to bring with her. So yeah, like she was being she was being nice about it, but yeah, she was definitely being a bitch. And then I don't know what their plans were. I really don't. Maybe this was the plan the whole time. But if the plan was, like I said earlier, Saraya leads the faces versus Britt and the heels, they did a real shit job of that because Saraya came in acting like a real asshole.
Yeah, I don't know. I would like to think maybe the plan originally was for this to somehow pivot into Hayter finally turning on Britt and getting that. Because, let's not forget, we get a lot of criticisms about this story, but ultimately, the Hayter and Britt part of this makes no sense, and it's been a bad story. Like, it's been a story where they just constantly don't pull the trigger, and now they're gonna, probably shoot a fucking blank whenever they do. But at least now, in the way it's turned out, we get to enjoy Hayter being over as a face. Without the payoff, without the way we're supposed to get there. Like, this is not how we're supposed to have it face Hayter, but at least something's coming out of it, and it's still feels like a relatively big deal. So, it's pretty much all silver linings for Hayter, and everyone else just is like, oh, it could have been better, for everyone else.
Do you think Britt could be a good face?
I think Britt can be the best face in the company, like point blank. I just think I don't like how it's done right now because she didn't really turn face and there's no, like she should still be heelish, and I think if she, I think a good part of Saraya's stuff being botched is on Britt too for not trying to be a heel, but instead trying to be a face in all of her promos because that is a big part of the problem.
Do you think she's trying to be a face or do you think she's trying to be the cool heel?
I think normally she's trying to be the cool heel, but once you can't cut that promo, like that's a face promo. Like that was a rare miss from Britt, who I don't think will ever be touched on promos in AEW unless unless Becky or Bayley came in, like I don't think she would ever be touched in terms of promos. Like even if they brought in Mercedes, like she can't handle Britt on the mic, but it was just a rare miss from her, and I think it just had consequences, but no one's really connecting those strings except for me right now. But so she'll never really hear anything about that. I'm surprised an Eric Bischoff or Grisanti hasn't complained about it. But yeah, I don't know. Overall, I classify it as a win of a segment. I don't want to boost Ray either, Navarro, so I'm with you there. But yeah, any other notes before Rev wraps us up?
I was just gonna say I feel like Britt's character, and we've talked about this before. She's the girl, the popular girl who wants to be liked, and yeah, and so she shouldn't abandon that just because she's turning face. Just do the things that actually get you liked. Just still be that character. And a lot of times in AEW, I do think there are characters who switch from heel to face or face to heel, and they don't change their character. It's just a matter of, what they're saying instead of, and they haven't changed how they're saying it. Ricky Starks, I think, is a good example. But I think if Britt starts leaning a little too face and kind of loses that character, then I don't know how good of a face she will be. But she can't be the face she was in the beginning. That obviously didn't work. She never really found her stride until she got hurt and then started doing the role model thing and then started being the heel then. So, but like I said before, I'm looking forward to see where this goes, and I'm excited for it. But like Danny said, it is time to wrap up. I don't even think we have to go over how we all felt about this episode. It was at best.
Weak sauce.
It was mid. So I want to thank everybody for watching. Time to put the music on. Thank you, producer boy. Be sure to like and subscribe if you're over on YouTube. Like on Facebook. It's weird now. I have like this whole thing for doing this for 2 years of just on YouTube, and now we're on YouTube, we're on Facebook, and we're on Twitter. But if you're on YouTube,
been doing this for 2 years.
Over 2 years. I could be lying. It's probably just like a year and a half. Anyway,
yeah, it is.
Like and subscribe if you are on YouTube, and you can check out all of our social media stuff in the description below. If you're over on Facebook, give us a like at the Mark It Down page, or follow us on Twitter if you are over there. And if you do subscribe, you can catch us here next week. We do Dynamites every Wednesday. We'll have an episode coming out tomorrow. We have James's Gym Pack Zone on Thursdays. Tomorrow. And Danny's Raw Fast Forwards will be on Mondays, and apparently I'm part of those now too. So, like I said, everybody, thank you so much for watching, and we will catch you here next time on the Mark It Down podcast. Have a good one, everyone.